Welcome friends to the another lecture on construction economics and finance. And today we will see types of market structure in the construction industry. So in the lecture series of construction economics and finance, we have seen that how the economics and finance are these terms are being associated with the construction industry. Moreover, how the construction industry is contributing in the Indian economy. So in the lecture series, last lecture we have seen regarding turnkey projects and type of production, factor affecting production. So in the continuation we will today see that the types of market structure, type of competition level in the construction industry. Though some of the types of competition level are difficult to understand, so we will try to correlate with the construction industry by giving some other examples. Okay, so today we will see this, and before starting actual lecture, I would like to introduce myself. I am Professor Amey Khedikar, working in the Department of Civil Engineering at Tulsiramji Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology, Nagpur. So we'll begin up with this. As you are aware that today we will see the types of market in the structure in the construction industry, the market structure basically. So we are in unit number 3. Okay, so market and the competitive environment. Okay, so as far as the economics are concerned, the market identify 4 types. Basically it has been identified by 4 types. Number 1 is the perfect competition, number 2 is the monopolistic competition, number 3 is oligopoly, and number 4 that is monopoly. Okay, so one by one we'll see that is perfect competition, types of competition: perfect, monopolistic, oligopoly and monopoly. So perfect competition we will see. The condition of perfect competition arises when there are many firms each selling an identical product, many buyers are available in the market, and no restrictions on the entry of new firms into the industry. Okay, so it arises when there are many firms each selling an identical product and many buyers and no restrictions on the entry of new firms into the industry. So in the construction industry there are many building components, there are many building materials are there, which are buyers are many, and many more agencies, factories, manufacturing units are available. Okay, and there is no such restrictions of having entry in the market for new firm. Just like to understand easily, I will give you the example of telecom industry. These selling and buying of mobile phones. There are many more identical market. There are many more retailers are selling the same products, and there are many more buyers are available in the market, and there is no restriction for any new company to launch the mobile. So like that, in this construction industry also there are many more building units, building components are there. So there are no restrictions, even the buyers are more. So in that case, this is the best example to understand the perfect competition. Okay, so I hope you understand the perfect competition. Yeah, even I have given you example of construction industry as well as the example of the telecom industry. Now in the monopolistic competition, okay, a market structure in which a large number of firms compete by making similar by slightly different product. See, monopolistic competition is a type of market structure in which the large number of firms compete by making similar by slightly different products. In the construction industry, again I am giving you example of construction industry. See, in this subject, though whatever concept we are learning, we need to inculcate all the concept, we need to imagine in the terms of construction industry only. Okay, some of the terms I agree it is difficult to imagine, but all the terms whatever we are learning, we have to stick our mind to the limits of construction industry. Okay, so a market structure in which large number of firms compete by making similar by slightly different product. So building materials, sanitary fittings, sanitary materials are available. There are many more types of materials sold by many more companies under different names. Okay, so there are large number of firms competed by making similar and by slightly different products. So sanitary material, building component, doors, and okay, window fitting and all the things. I will give that example. I will compare that example here. So And product differentiation gives a monopolistically competitive firm an element of monopoly power. And looking into the product and looking into the quality of the product and the differentiation as compared to the previous model or with the available model, that gives some amount of monopoly power. What monopoly is, we'll try to understand afterwards. Okay, but you just keep in mind, monopoly means there is no other option. That's called monopoly. Okay. Oligopoly. What is that? A market structure in which a small number of firms compete. In this case, I will give you one example of steel industry. If I can ask you what are the steel suppliers, or if I can ask you, tell me the big companies, those who provide the steel, reinforcement steel. So I can hear some Shaktiman Steel, Jindal Steel, Kamdenu Steel, but the steel is very important construction building material and it is very costly also, and it take overall 10 to 15% of the total cost of the structure. So as far as the steel industry or steel material is concerned, so there are very less competitors. So in this in the market where steel, in the steel structure market or in the reinforcement market, that there are very small number of firms compete with each other. That's something called as the oligopoly. And finally, monopoly. Finally, the monopoly. An industry that produces a good or services for which no close substitute exists and in which there is no one supplier that is protected from competition by a barrier preventing the entry of new firm. So in the monopoly, I can give you one example. If in your city, if there is only one petrol pump, and as petrol is a basic need, so that petrol pump or the owner of the petrol pump or that services will create the monopoly. So for example, once we are having only one petrol pump in the city, then we don't have other options. So sometimes he may increase the cost, sometimes he may delay in the productivity, sometimes he may decrease the cost. So whatever decision he has to take, he will take as his own, because people are dependent and people don't have any other option. Okay, as stated in the statement, that the industry that produces a good or services which has no close substitute, okay, and in which there is one supplier that is protected from competition, and government and in at the same case, if in government is also protecting not to create another one. So that is something monopoly, and basically this is very harmful for the customers. Then economy may collapse, and this is very harmful and not healthy for the consumer basically. So I hope you understood the example of monopoly. See, I'll give you one example. Even in my last lecture, I have shown you one video of Dr. Vivek Bindra telling about the monopoly of Jio industry. See, while entering to the telecom industry, Jio has made strategic plan, and he has made entry by such an entry barrier that no other telecom industry even close to him. So he has created the monopoly, and within 1 year on, almost 40 to 50 crore people have joined the Jio. So the way he has come up with the strategy and the way he has come up with the plans, that creates the monopoly in the market. Even now also he has captured the 50% of the market, and rest all competitors are having the share of 50%, and alone Jio has 50%. So that is something about monopoly, but at the end monopoly is not good for the consumers. Okay, so we have seen 4 the types. Okay, before moving further, I will again recap, because we need to understand perfect competition, many buyers, many sellers, and no restriction to the new industry. Monopolistic, where large number of firms competed by making similar products. Okay, then we have seen oligopoly, okay, in which a small number of firms compete, and finally the monopoly. Okay, then we have seen the monopoly. So moving further, in the perfect competition, now we will see the characteristic. So in the perfect competition, basically many firms, each selling an identical product, okay, are compared with each other. Then many buyers are available, as we have told, and no restriction on entry to the industry. Many firms, each selling an identical product, many buyers, and no restriction to the entry to the industry. See, in the continuation of characteristic, firms in the industry have no advantage over potential of new entrants, and firms and buyers are well informed about the prices of product of each firm in the industry. See, as in the perfect competition, the company or buyer or consumer or the manufacturing particular plant is knowing already the cost of the equipment, cost of the machine, or cost of any cost of any good. So he or she cannot suddenly increase the cost. That is the best thing about the perfect competition, in which it is very healthy for the consumers, very much healthy for the consumers, as the rate are already fixed and already the same products, similar kind of products are already available in the market. So he or she cannot simply increase the cost. Okay. As a result of this characteristic, perfect competition are price takers. So this kind of competition or this kind of situation is really very good for the consumers. You might be coming across first time the price taker word. So what is price taker? It is basically the firms cannot influence the price or goods of the services, that is called as the price takers. Okay, firms that cannot influence the price of a good or a services, that is the price taker. Okay. Economic profit and revenue. So we'll see economic profit and revenue. The firm's goal is to maximize economic profit. See, as this statement is coming in front of you, that the firm's goal is to maximize the economic profit. Absolutely every firm, every organization, or every individual, or simply if I can ask you, the role of an engineer in the industry or in the corporate, or simply basic, the role of an engineer, though it is a mechanical engineer, though it's a civil engineer, or though it's electrical engineer, if I can simply ask you the question, what is the role of an engineer, what would be your answer? See, rather giving branch specific answers, there is a simple answer, multidisciplinary answer, that is a simple answer, that is to maximize the profit and minimize the efforts, or in other words, to maximize the profit with minimum inputs. That's the role of an engineer. That's the role of an engineer. So as far as the economic profit and revenue is concerned, the firm's goal is to maximize the economic profit. Okay. So total cost is the opportunity cost, including normal profit. Okay. Total cost is the opportunity cost, including normal profit. Then total revenue is the value of firm sale. Total revenue is the value of firm's sale. So total revenue, I will see the marginal revenue, MR, that is change in total revenue resulted from a 1 unit increase in quantity sold, and average revenue, that is total revenue divided by the quantity sold revenue per unit. I hope you are getting the points. So marginal revenue into average revenue, that is the total revenue. And what is marginal revenue? It is the change in total revenue resulting from a 1 unit increase, which is the quantity sold, and total revenue is the ratio of quantity sold divided by the revenue per unit sold. Okay, and in perfect competition, the price of marginal value and average value should be same, or it comes to same in the perfect competition, or when it comes to same is called as the perfect competition, Now let's come to the decision making ability of the firms, where to go for longer run or shorter run, we will see. Okay, a firm's task is to make the maximum economic profit possible given the constraint it faces. A firm's task is to make the maximum economic profit as possible given the constraint it faces. Whatever the problem the organization is facing, ultimately the goal is to produce the maximum profit. In order to do so, the firm must make two decisions in the shorter run and to in longer run. Okay, in order to do so, the firm must make two decisions in the shorter run and two in the longer run. Short run and long run. Okay, we'll see first the shorter run. Again, in further slides we will see the comparison graphs, etc. Okay, so a time frame in which each firm has a given plant and the number of firms in the industry is fixed. A time frame in which each firm has a given plant and the number of firms in the industry is fixed. And in the longer term, a time frame in which each firm can change the size of a plant and decide to enter in the industry. I will tell you some simple point. If you want to make your business longer term, then your decision strategy should be different. And if you want to make your business short term, means short run, and your decision should be different than the long run. If your business is seasonal, then you cannot take something bold or something long run decisions. Okay, for example, if you want to grow your business for long term, then either you should increase the size of your organization, either you should adopt some multidisciplinary practices and all the things. So in the short run, the firm must decide whether to produce or to shut down. Yeah, of course, as I already told you, if your business is of shorter run and it depend upon the seasons, it depend upon the conditions, or it depend upon the market condition, requirement, demands. So you have to take the call of either to produce or to shut down. That liberty you are having in the shorter run case. And if the decision is to produce, then what to produce? As I already told, it's a seasonal, depend upon demand, situation of the market. So that two decisions we need to take on priority if you are thinking about the shorter run. Okay. And in the long run, the firm must decide whether to increase the size of the plant, whether to increase the size of the organization, or because in longer run you must prepare some scalable model and you have to sell your product on the big scale. Okay. And whether to stay in the industry or leave it, this liberty you are having once you are thinking about the longer run, whether to be in the competition or you need to skip the competition and just prepare new strategy and launch again with the huge barrier. So that's the option with you if you are thinking about the longer run. And now we'll see regarding the shorter run. So see, this is very interesting. I have just created a graph whether to is to show you just regarding the profit and loss statement. So let's take an example of plastic door which is made. I have just quoted the quantity 4, 9, 12. We'll see at what quantity and what price we are in profit and we are in loss. Just we will see that. Okay, so x-axis refers to quantity, plastic doors, number of doors per day, and y-axis represents the rupees per day to get total revenue and total cost. So total cost, you can see the bar, okay, which is inclined to total revenue. So this is the line of total cost. So total cost, it required 100 rupees to build around 5 plastic doors. For 183 rupees it required 12, 225 and all. Okay, now for 225 rupees it required to build 12 plastic doors, and 183, see, you can see that the cost required for around 13-12 plastic door is varying. So as far as the profit and loss is concerned, so it is the economic loss if you prepare less than 12 plastic doors in a day. Okay, and if you can see that this is the profit, where total revenue minus total cost, which is equals to economic profit. So if you can averagely construct or prepare or produce 12 to 13 plastic doors in a day, then it will be in economical way, it will be profit. And if you are giving more products at a day, then you will be in loss. You will be in loss. Okay, so to understand again, let's say another example. Okay, this is the total cost, profit, loss. So if you can produce the 12 number of plastic doors a day with the cost of 42, this ratio, this will make you in profit, otherwise you will be in loss. Okay, so that is the profit maximum quantity is 12. So you can earn maximum profit up to 12. Okay, So this is the marginal analysis we have seen. So in the marginal analysis, a comparison is made between a unit marginal revenue and marginal cost. So using a marginal analysis and a comparison is made between the unit marginal revenue and marginal cost. So if marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, the extra revenue from the selling one or more unit exceeds the extra cost. In that case, the firm should increase the output to decrease the profit. Okay, and if the marginal revenue is less than the marginal cost, then the extra revenue from the selling one more unit is less than the extra cost, and hence the firm should decrease the output to increase the profit. It is not like that every time you have to increase the productivity to gain the profit. No, not like that. And when MR, that the marginal revenue is equals to MC marginal cost, then only the economic profit is maximized. So whatever we have seen in the last particular slide, we will actually demonstrate here. You can see that is the marginal revenue, that is the marginal cost. Okay, so this is the point of intersection where it comes to 9. So it is the profit maximization point. It is the profit maximization point. And if you can see in the J curve, less than 9 or more than 9, you will be in loss. Less than 9 or more than 9 products per day will make you loss. So you need to produce exactly the 9 number of plastic doors. Okay. So in the short run supply curve, we will see again a fixed cost must be paid in the short run. Fixed cost must be paid in the short run. Variable cost can be avoided by laying off workers and shutting down. Variable cost can be avoided by laying off workers and shutting down, or to just highly paid workers we have to remove and or to shut down the plant. That sometimes may avoid this cost. And firms shut down if prices fall below the minimum average variable cost. We will see here. This is a J curve. So that is a point of intersection, and you can see that if the pricing fall below this S,